right, and welcome back to A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything, the show where I, your host, Kole Berzenji, get to sit down with interesting people, have interesting conversations, and we get to pick apart some of the industries and fields that surround us. What makes them tick, the people who run them, and some of the myths and unpleasant truths about them. So, today I'm sitting with Nadia. Would you please introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Hi, I'm Nadia Boulos. I am a freelance web designer with Reset Web Design. And I am a local web designer here in town, and I work with local small businesses. I help them optimize their online presence and while making a aesthetic website and also a website that also converts customers.
Mm-hmm. So today's episode, I wanted to break down some of the myths and the unpleasant truths of web design. Yeah. So I'll give you an easy one first. But what is a common myth that you run into a lot when people come looking for your services?
A common myth, I would say, would be that this website is going to be the be-all, end-all. It's going to 100% flip around their business and make it super successful. A website, I would say, is one part of many different things that you can do within your marketing strategy. But a really good website is a good foundation to have. It's a good home base to have for your other accounts to be linking back to. And so, but yeah, people think that it's going to solve all their problems.
Mm-hmm. So I know one of the things, and oftentimes it's so complicated that it just kind of draws people's attention because they don't have no idea how to work it. But maybe if they just get it right, then it's going to make their website and their business successful. And that's SEO. Mm-hmm. So really quickly, can you just explain what is SEO?
So SEO, or search engine optimization, it's a sum of different things that you can do to help your site rank higher on Google page. So when you first pull up your name on Google page and you see your site being listed within the first 10 things, that means that your SEO is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So your site is optimized to be found.
So if I come to you, the website maker, and I say, hey, I want a really good website that's going to go in the top 10 of Google, you should be able to do all of that all by yourself, yes?
Actually, no. There's two steps to that process. First, what I do is I optimize the site within itself. I make sure the images are compressed. I make sure they have alt tags, meta titles, meta descriptions on each page. I make sure there's links, inbound links and outbound links. I make sure the content is full of keywords and it aligns with the business's mission. And I make sure there's fresh content in there if there's a blog of the sort. So all these things that I optimize within the site, I do basic SEO optimization. And that's just within the site when I create it, when I build it. However, there's another step, which is something that an SEO expert would do. And they would take that website and they would optimize it within the realm of search engines. And so there's two different steps there.
So my website designer's not going to make me number one on Google right away?
Not essentially. They could, because the website will be optimized with all the content words and the keywords and the links and everything. But you might need to hire somebody else to actually bump that to first place, because that's not an automatic thing.
So realistically, though, if I wanted to have a business with a valuable digital storefront, effectively, the first step before I can even think about SEO seriously is I have to get my website in order?
100%. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to make sure everything streamlines correctly. The site is designed effectively. It caters to the right people, to your target audience. It has all the information that they need. It's very intuitive, easy to use, fast to load, all the different things. So that needs to be the first step.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10 even, how important is SEO for my website?
On the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being...
1 is, it's not that important.
It's not that important. Oh, no. I would say it's definitely around 6, I would put it.
Okay.
6 or 7. Yeah. It's very important. But again, if you don't have a website that's functioning correctly, it doesn't mean anything. You can't take a lousy website and bump it up, because that's not going to do anything. That's not going to convert for you. You're going to need to have a functional website that does what it's supposed to do first and then take it up.
Okay, so let's say I'm DIYing my website, making it myself. I want to make sure that it's optimized. I can't hire someone else to do it though. So what are some things that I can do to make those optimizations to make it a little bit more SEO friendly?
So I would say make sure that you have headers, header 1, header 2, header 3. You have the paragraphs. So everything has to be aligned up perfectly, strategically within the navigation, the sitemap, all these things. You also need to make sure you have alt tags on your images. You need to make sure that the pages align in a certain way that makes sense and people can get to where they need to go within 1 or 2 clicks before they lose interest. Again, we talked about the fresh content. So the blogs, things that you can add that would be updated content to the site that would actually increase your rank. And then having the internal links between the pages and the outside links as well, and the backlinks. So from whatever website you land on, you have a backlink to your website that also increases your SEO.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about web developers themselves. Somewhere there's a dividing line between the good developers and the bad developers. How do I know if I'm meeting with a good web developer or a bad one?
So there's a distinction I'd like to make, and some people make that mistake. So web designer and web developer are 2 different things.
Interesting. Okay,
Yes.
explain.
So web designer is somebody who deals with the front end of the website, the design of the website, the UX, UI of the website, so the customer experience. The web developer is somebody who works with code only. And they develop code, they develop custom templates using code, and that's all they do. They don't do the front end, they do the back end, which is the code.
Interesting.
Coding. Now the front end web designer does know code as well, but I'm not creating a whole website with custom code. That's not my job. The web developer can create something with custom code only. For me, I take whatever's available, like a platform like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, whatever. And then I take the builder and then I build the site using the tools that the web developers have created. Does that make sense?
So is web developer like a more niche, specialized version of a web designer?
A web developer deals only with code. So they create things with code and they deal with code. They can be web designers as well, but that's a different set of skills that you have to have.
Gotcha.
Just like I cannot custom make from scratch, from just code a whole website. That's a different set of skills. I do know some code, but not as much as a web developer.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like you can say, hi, hello, how are you? Can I get the food there? And where's the washroom in Spanish? But you're not fluent in Spanish.
Something like that.
Something
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay, so in that case, let's rephrase the question. Website designers.
Yes.
A lot of website designers. There's a line that divides the good and the bad ones. How do I know if I'm meeting with a good designer or a bad one?
I would say transparency from the beginning, knowing what this person can offer, and knowing when they give you when they submit a proposal, making sure you go through the proposal and make sure what you're expecting to get is listed on there. And so a web designer should be very thorough when it comes to, and very detail oriented when it comes to listing all the things that they're going to be offering. They need to be transparent, like I said, with their offerings. And usually a good web designer would be on top of like communication skills, and they would actually care for your business, it's not just a transaction, but it goes above and beyond. And so, I would say authenticity, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So inversely, what are the red flags?
So the red flags would be when somebody, and I've seen this happen, when they want to charge you a very small price, like $500 for a website, but then when you ask them for help with a few things, they start upcharging you. And they start telling you, oh, but this is going to cost you $600, even though they offered the whole site for $500. But this minimal change is going to be a whole bunch more money. So that would be a huge red flag, because they're just trying to upsell you. And I would not want to deal with them.
Have you had many clients run into those issues in the past?
Yes, I have. I have clients who have come to me after they've dealt with somebody else, another designer who charged them so much money and they did not deliver. So that's another thing. You want to charge money, you want to promise something, you want to deliver that. So that's a huge red flag. But then that money is lost. So they come to me and they're desperate and they're really frustrated with this industry already. And so it's so important for a web designer to not only promise what they're going to do, but also deliver on that promise.
I'd be curious to hear some of those horror stories. Maybe we'll have time later in the episode for that. But yeah, you talked a little bit about people who are offering really low prices. And we talked about this a little bit in the last episode. But I'm going to pick on one country just because they've been giving me a lot of phone calls recently. Yeah. But India has a lot of folks that, for what it's worth, some of them do really good work.
Yes.
There's also a large number of them that are just going to say that they can make me a website for $50 and that it'll be the best website ever and that I'll never need another website for 2 weeks until I see the website and I realize it's garbage. So I want you to make a case as to why I should work with these international web designers. Why should I, besides money?
Why should you? I would say if you're on a budget, and if you really need a website in a very, very fast way and something to have an online presence, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think if you don't have the budget and you need a website right now, that would be a good idea to do. I wouldn't do it personally, but I think a business owner who only has limited funds and needs something quickly, why not?
Do you think in 10, 15 years, we'll see the quality of output from these producers increase? Or do you think it's always just kind of going to be the same?
I think you're going to have good quality and bad quality. And it's just it's going to balance itself out. Because not everybody knows how to build websites. So
you're gambling at that point, I suppose.
100%. 100. You just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, of course they send you portfolio examples and stuff like that. But again, these people are in India. They're so far away. I mean, this could be stolen material for all you know. You just don't know. And how are you going to gauge that? And how are you going to judge this from somebody who's living so far away? Not to mention time difference. And so that might play a part. If my site crashes at 10 o'clock in the morning and I need to fix it by 11 o'clock in the morning, how is this person going to respond when they're so far away and with the time difference? They'll probably be sleeping. So again, that's another factor why people should hire local web designers or even in the same continent. I would say that somebody that's here and that can help them in real time.
A 3-hour time difference is a lot better than an 11 one.
100%, yeah. Especially if you have a site that's just crashed. And I've had that happen so many times. People call me at 8 o'clock in the morning and I get right on it and I fix their site because their customer clientele depend on the site and they need to get it work.
I had that happen once. I'll share this story. And it was a website crash. But I talked to a few other WordPress fellows that I know, and they were all astounded because they'd never seen this happen. But I had taken some code because I was trying to install a tracking metric.
Yes.
And it was from a legit website. And so I knew the code worked. I put it into my header bar. And not only did it crash my website, but my WordPress workspace became inoperable. Which is astounding. I never knew that could happen.
Yes. It happens more times than you think. And that's why, for me, I have encountered so many of these scenarios. It happens so much. And I would say as a WordPress, if you're doing anything in WordPress, even updating your plugins, first and foremost, back up your site. Always back up your site. That's the very first step. You open up your site, back it up, or put it on automatic backups. Because I've had sites crash on me so many times from installing a plugin that wasn't compatible maybe, or deleting a plugin. So there's a lot of scenarios that can happen. And I'm very well versed in WordPress, but some of the issues also I have, I pay for a special service to be connected to WordPress on the back end to where I can call them and have them resolve the issues in case something like this happened, where I don't even have access to the dashboard or anything. Yeah,
because in that case, I didn't properly save a previous version of it. And so I lost 3 days worth of work.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was miserable that day.
Well, that happens way more times than you think. It's very common.
Yeah. Like WordPress is just a different beast, really.
It is. It is. That's why I said, it's better to get a certification in it, know what you're dealing with, and still have some experience with it because there's so many ins and outs of it.
Oh gosh, yeah. University of YouTube only gets you so far at the end of the day.
That's very true. It's helpful, but to a certain point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this? What are hard realities that clients should be aware of when working with web designers?
I would say hard realities. I would say, not everything is going to be 100% perfect to what you're imagining in your brain. Like things are going to be very close to that. But of course there's limitations, whether it be with a platform, with a builder, sometimes clients want this big, crazy visual, and it's actually not good for the site. So people have to understand that there's more to it than just aesthetics and what you see. And then sometimes things take time, more time than you think. And so there's intricacies in there that they need to be aware of and sensitive to. So just keep an open mind when you're dealing with a web designer because there are some limitations out there.
All right, I'll give you an easy one next. What is the best part of the job?
The best part of the job for me is seeing the complete finished project. Like I love seeing a website that's complete. And I'm such a perfectionist. I'm always tweaking and changing little details here and there. But once it's done, I am so proud of my work. And I love it when clients call me and they're like, my family all went to the website and they loved it. Or my clients are raving about the website and this is a referral because, this guy wants a website too, like that, or, I got so many new clients from this website. That just makes my day. I'm proud of my work and I, take ownership of it. And that's the best part for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you found that historically you've been a notably creative person? Just like growing up, you just had a taste for the arts.
100%. I'm so into the arts. I'm actually a published poet. So I love to write. And then I love music. I'm a singer as well. I appreciate arts as a whole. I've done music my whole life, piano and flute. So yeah, I've started out in that very creative zone. And that's why I really enjoy doing this.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, so inversely, what's the worst part of the job then?
Oh, worst part. I would say there's a lot of technical stuff that, again, you can't possibly have a grasp on everything technical that has to do with a website. And sometimes I have to research it. Just like you said, you were mentioning spending 2 to 3 hours to research, that's minimum for me. So the research can be extensive. It can take time and effort. And sometimes I can't get through customer service, which not everybody has good customer service. So for example, GoDaddy is not the best.
It's really bad.
Just bad. And so I have to put in the time and the hours and the effort into figuring those situations out because that's my job. And so obviously it's not the best part. Yeah.
So different kind, but still staying in the same vein of that question. Have you ever had a contract fall apart midway through?
Oh, yes. I've had actually, and it was to the demise of my client because my client paid 30% deposit and they completely ghosted me after that. And so I couldn't turn in a website.
Right.
And I couldn't get in touch with them and couldn't get a hold of them. And so I feel like it was a loss on their end. But also what the loss becomes for me is because it's time consuming because I'm always constantly checking on that client because I know in the back of my head that I have this project going on. But truly my client has disappeared. So the investment that I have put in to this, and usually when I sign the 30% deposit, I'm already working on some stuff. I'm figuring out color palettes. I'm looking at formats and fonts. I'm looking at different things and researching the company. And so it kind of sets me back a little bit when that happens. So I have added a clause in my proposal to protect me from that particular scenario. So
I've run into that recently as well, where anyone that works on a consultation or a specialty service basis, I'm sure has this, where they'll have someone and they'll even sign contracts to put in the deposits and then they're just gone, no matter what you do.
Yes.
And now we've started putting in more clauses into our contracts to say, hey, like these deposits are not refundable because I need security for my time.
Exactly. And I would even go one step further, and I would charge the full price of the project, even though it wasn't turned in. So if I get no contact within, 3 months from my client with anything, content, images, even communication, then I'm charging them for the whole entire website.
Yeah, because they don't realize, because they think, oh, you've just not done any work. It's like, no, we have done work. And we've set aside a lot of time.
Exactly. To plan it out, to strategize it, to research it. So all that time has been spent, and also even, getting the proposal done. So that's taking away from time that I can allocate to a different project that I can be going further along in. Instead, I'm spending time revisiting that same unfinished project.
I had one lady, we were running ads for a time in a certain area. And she interacted with the ad because it was for a specialty service all about like memoirs and stuff.
Yes.
And older lady is like, okay, let's set up a time for a consultation. We set that up. And then I gave her the whole spiel. And then right away, it was really funny because she's like, I'm going to stop you halfway through your pitch. I think the service is disgusting.
Oh.
I'm not into it at all. It's like, oh, okay, it's the first time we've ever gotten that. Fair enough.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And she said, here's what I want you to do. And she has a specialty marijuana service. I'm like, oh. Okay, you know what? You want marketing services? We can help you with that? Sure, even though that's not what the ad said, that's fine. She's like, yeah. But here's the thing. I want you to do a bunch of research. I want you to find my competitors. I want you to build me all these plans. And then, if I like it, then we can talk about a contract. It's like, no. That's not how this works. Exactly. Not in this field.
Yes. I've had clients like that too. And it's part of the job. It's part of the business, the nature of the business. And you just pick and choose who you want your clients to be.
You don't have to take everyone.
You do not. And I have not. So, and I'm fine with that. If somebody's, again, people who are not very responsive, I'm very aware of, and I'm kind of weary of. I keep them at an arm's length, because if you're not interested in doing business with me, then I'm just not going to give it that much attention. So,
let's not forget that I don't have to chase you. If we're gonna work together, we're gonna do it on an equal playing field.
Exactly. And I have done, and that's because I've gone through the scenarios of chasing people to get their business, and it's always backfired on me. So I've learned to have a very clear and concise proposal and have all the clauses in there to protect me and my business. And if somebody's not ready, they're not ready, and I just leave them be. Yeah. And whenever they're ready and they mean business, then you are more than welcome to work with me. So
yeah, and that's fine. That's not a problem.
Yeah, no. Not at all.
Okay, so realistically, how hard is it to make a decent website?
Again, it's not hard. There's so many different other factors. You will need to look at the website as part of a bigger marketing strategy. And you will need to have this knowledge behind it of how things work on the technical side. And it's not hard to get a builder like Squarespace to build a website. But is it going to accomplish all the things that you want it to accomplish? Probably not, because you're doing things on the surface, but there's a lot of back end stuff that needs to happen. And there's a lot of science to it. It's a different approach than somebody who's just putting stuff together. So it's easy, as in the builders are easy. They're intuitive. Now that drag and drop blocks and all that sort of stuff, anybody can do that, but not everybody can look at it in a strategic way and understand the science behind the user experience and how things work with SEO and the robots crawling your site and all that sort of stuff.
If I was in a position, though, where I was looking at Squarespace and I'm being really frugal, could I run a successful business meaningfully on Squarespace?
I think you could. And I can't even tell you how many redesign projects in Squarespace I've had, because people, that's what they do. They want something cheap, quick, easy, drag and drop. And so they sign up for Squarespace, they get their website going, but then they run into a wall because it's not converting properly. And so, yes, you can, but you also need to have some of that knowledge, and you need to have some of those skills. And some things, sometimes you want to create a form, but you don't know how to create it, and it needs a custom code, which in Squarespace is very limited. And a lot of the times you're going to need custom code to create new things. And so that's when they're like, okay, I can't do this. This is not making sense for me. But if you do have a general knowledge of marketing, if you do have a general knowledge of design, it's doable. It's doable.
It's got that learning curve to it.
A learning curve and time consuming. So those are two very important things in a small business. That these are luxuries they don't have.
So what are some insider tips and tricks that you can give to the person who's trying to do a DIY to help make their website just a little bit better?
Some quick tips would be, having streamlined content, having a very clear navigation menu, a very clear footer menu with contact information on it. I would want to have clear headers, taglines, and call to action buttons. Make sure all those things are very clear on the site. As far as content, don't put too much content on there and not too little. It has to be the right amount of content so that the users are not turned away from it. And if you can keep it more minimalistic than busy, that would be better. I would skip the animations because that's a whole different thing that you don't want to deal with if you're just trying to get a site up. And I would use a lot of white space. A lot of people don't understand the concept of white space on the page. They think cramming as much information as possible is the right way to go. It's not. Visually, you need a lot of white space to be able to assimilate information. And so that would be something that you need to consider doing.
So white space, that's the blank area on a canvas. Is that the idea?
It's the white area that's going to be framing content or images on the website, on the web page. So it's the stuff that's empty. It's the empty space around the content. And so if there's not enough white space, visually it's not as appealing and it's not as easy to read.
Gotcha. Just it feels cramped, feels crowded.
Yeah, people don't like that.
Bad user experience.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, last question.
Yes.
Tools of the trade. What tools do you use when you make a website? I
have a variety of tools that I use, from like design to just everything. So design, I use Canva quite a bit. I use BeFunky for resizing and compressing. TinyPNG, I mentioned that in a previous episode, for compressing images. I also use, it's called Coolors, so Coolors, and I use it for color palettes. So it finds all your complementary colors, and if you want to find more than one color, like an accent color, so it kind of helps with that. I also use, for wireframes, I use Mockups or Figma. Those are two very good tools. I also use, so the builders, whatever is available on the platform. If it's a WordPress platform, I use Elementor, Divi. Those are some of the main builders. And beyond that, I use Google Analytics, Google Search Console. I use Google Optimize. I also use PageSpeed Insights, usually when I'm done building, to make sure that the site is fast to load. And if there's anything that I need to be changing, that I do that work. And then of course, the hosting companies, they have their own tools as well. And FTP Site is a tool to know how to use, because it gives you access to the files on the back end if you need to do some other custom work. And pretty much, these are the main things.
And are any of those free, or are those all pretty hefty prices?
Some of them are, some of them are not. So I have subscription to some of them because I need the pro version to be able to work on multiple sites. So that's when it makes sense to me, because I use that one tool for multiple things. Yeah,
because I started getting into WordPress, and then I realized that if I wanted to format things nicely for mobile, it was a lot easier to do that with like Elementor.
Yes.
Yeah. And bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But tons of resources on it.
Yes.
So
you almost always need a builder for WordPress. I've built it with code, and I would not recommend that for the average user. There's a lot of great builders out there you can utilize. Even the free version of Elementor is great.
Yeah.
You don't need the pro version. I built sites just with the free version. So there's a lot there that you can use. And of course, the more you're in this business, the more you recognize the different tools that you can use, especially within WordPress, some of the plugins that work, some of them that are not very efficient. So you can kind of pinpoint what you need on the site or not.
Well, I feel like I've learned something, Nadia.
Great.
All right. So where can people find you?
You can find me at resetwebdesign.com. And I live in Bellingham, so I'd be more than glad to meet you for coffee.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for this last episode of A Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything. We hope that you've learned something valuable and that you are hopefully a little bit more eager for that next website. So in any case, take care, be well, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.